Was this the plan all along? I'm going to answer that question for you right now. It's Wrestling with Fans. What is good, everyone? Welcome back to the Wrestling with Fans podcast. This is a pro wrestling podcast created by fans for fans from a fan's perspective. My name is Kyle. This is episode 241. And to answer that question, I'm going to borrow a phrase from The Rock. It doesn't matter if this was the plan or not. That's what I'm going to be talking about this week on the show. Everybody on the internet, all the internet wrestling community, the wrestling community as a whole is in an uproar whether or not this was a plan all along, if they changed course. And well, to be perfectly honest, it doesn't matter if this was the plan all along. Let's get into it in just a moment, but first, links to all of the social medias for Wrestling with Fans are down in the video description down below. Facebook, YouTube, you're watching it on YouTube, unless you're listening to the audio version, which thank you very much. If you want to listen to the audio version, podcast links are down below. TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. And of course, the email, wwfshow@gmail.com. Again, everything is in the video description down below. Or if you're listening to the audio version, it is going to be in the show notes down below on your podcasting app. Let's get into it, guys. So, for the last couple weeks, since the last episode, all I keep seeing online in various Facebook groups. I'm in many wrestling Facebook groups. I have the group chat with the boys. We occasionally talk wrestling. It's not a hardcore topic much anymore. But, and then the YouTube videos from insiders and other podcasters. Your dirty sheet writers.
Sheets. Ooh.
You listen to 10 different people, you hear 10 different stories. Some of them are saying, oh, this was the plan all along. Some of them are saying, they changed course due to the fan backlash. And I am here to tell you definitively, it doesn't matter. It really does not matter if this was the plan all along, if plans changed, if, the crowd reaction that we want Cody hashtag was staged by WWE or not. It doesn't really matter. Sit back and enjoy the ride. The Rock said that on Pat McAfee's show, I believe it was last week before last. Time is a complete blur to me anymore with the child. Happy 7 months today, Marlena, if you ever watch this episode. Happy 7 months. My little baby turned 7 months old today. Time is just kind of a weird thing. So anyway, Rock and Pat McAfee, when he first brought up the Cody Crybabies, talking about how, just sit back and enjoy the ride we're taking you on. And we're going on a ride. And that's the whole point. Because whether this was the plan, or whether they changed course, or option C, D, E, F, G, H, I through the alphabet, it doesn't matter. It's entertaining. People are talking about it. People are excited for WrestleMania. You have your hardcore WWE fans who watch every week, that are very invested in this Cody story. And the Cody can finish the story, by defeating Roman, winning the title that his dad only got to hold for 90 seconds or 3 minutes, whatever, they're saying it is. He can hold that belt finally, and he can be WWE champion. That's the story they're telling. That's the ultimate goal to get there. And I've also seen some other people say, well, what about Roman's story? Roman's is the real story. Roman has his own story. And I think the title is not Roman's story. I don't think the end game for Roman's story has anything to do with the belt. I think it has to do with family. It has to do with being the tribal chief, and it has to do with The Rock. So I think what WWE has done, I think what they've done a great job of over the last year is After WrestleMania, Cody's over on Raw with Jey Uso. Roman is on SmackDown occasionally with Jimmy and Solo and the wise man Paul Heyman. They've kept these two stories kind of separated, but, close, with Jey and Cody on one side and the rest of the family over on the other side. And they reminded us on Raw many times about, wanting to finish the story. And as it's gotten closer and closer to Rumble season now, WrestleMania season, of course, we're on a collision course. It's going to be at WrestleMania 40. Now, originally, and that was what people want to remember, The Rock now being, Hollywood Rock again. A version of like the, corporate heel Rock and Hollywood Rock, which I think is absolutely brilliant. I love the promo on SmackDown. I want to talk about something very subtle that The Rock did during that promo that I want to talk about. We'll get into that here in a bit, but the $500 vest, the $500 shirt, chef's kiss. But Roman's story isn't going to end with the belt. Roman's story is going to end when he is dethroned as the tribal chief, as the head of the table. Now, whether that be from Jey or Jimmy or Solo or The Rock, presumably it's going to be The Rock, the match that, so many people have been wanting to see for a few years. Roman and Cody's story are not dependent upon each other as far as Roman's story goes. Cody needs Roman. Roman does not need Cody in his story. And I think what we could potentially see, and I'm going to go and call it now, either The Rock turns on Roman outright, goes back to being babyface, or I don't know if that means he attacks Roman and allowing Cody to win, or prevents Solo and or Jimmy and or a debuting family member. Jacob Fatu is out there. Booker T's been pushing to get Jacob Fatu in WWE. So I think The Rock maybe won't cost Roman the title, because I think Cody needs to win it clean for his story. But for Roman's story, he doesn't need the belt. Cody wants to take everything away from him. Cody has stated he wants to not only take the belt, he wants to take everything away. And up until this presser last week, that's what The Rock was coming for. He was coming to take the tribe from Roman. But all of a sudden, on a dime, he flips, joins Roman's side, and now he's full-blown heel along in the bloodline. But if you remember SmackDown 2 weeks ago, Cody came out. He said he had conversations. One of those conversations he had, of course, ended up being The Rock, who showed up, had to stare down with Roman. What if? Now, I don't have a tinfoil hat. I've got my pin set on because it's Jaromir Jagr jersey retirement day. What if? What if this was the plan of Cody and The Rock all along? What if they had this conversation? They concocted this plan because they were both coming for Roman. Cody won the Rumble. He pointed to Roman. He wanted Roman Reigns. The Rock had been clamoring for a match with Roman Reigns. It was supposed to happen last year. It was supposed to happen the year before. Didn't work out. It's not going to work out this year either. But what if they come up with this plan? And again, I'm just kind of fantasy booking, tinfoil hatting myself here. But I'm going to put it out there in the wrestling sphere, wrestle-sphere, whatever you want to call it, for people to talk about. So when I'm done here, comment below what your thoughts are for my thought process here. The Rock being involved allows Cody to finish his story, but not to the point where it's going to undermine Cody's story. The Rock, say Jimmy comes down, Jey comes down to stop Jimmy, they battle away from the ring, whatever. Solo comes out. It looks like we're going to get a repeat of last year. Solo is going to cost Cody the match for the second year in a row, only for The Rock to call Solo off. Whether that be attacking him, preventing from attacking Cody, or just saying, no, you don't do this. He's got to stand on his own 2 feet. If he's the tribal chief, he's going to stand on his own 2 feet. Cody wins, clean in the middle of the ring. Cody's story is finished, and he can go off and do his own thing. And as much as I am, all for Cody finishing this story, I think Cody being the chaser, being in the chase, as they say, I think is a really good story, and it's been very captivating over the last year and a half, if you go back to the 2023 Rumble. But I think they can take Cody, and so you get the two stories kind of coming together. Cody wins the belts, goes off and does his story. Well, then we we streamline the bloodline, because then now you've got a year's worth of story where not only has Roman lost the title, the historic title reign is over, but now his position as tribal chief is in question because he lost that belt due to The Rock. So then you have a whole year. You can have Rock versus Solo. You can have Rock versus Jimmy. You can do Rock and Jay versus Solo and Jimmy. Again, there's other family members you can bring in. Rikishi, Afa and Sika. You can have all these, the Samoan Dynasty family involved and tell this long story over a year. Build this match up for a year like they did with Rock and Cena. And then you have it at the main event of WrestleMania 41. You have the clash for the title of Tribal Chief, Roman versus The Rock. And I think that is the direction they're going to go. And that's a story I would love to see, because you can, again, people are like, oh, people don't care about Cody. People don't care about Roman. They're both integral to each other, to the flashpoint at WrestleMania 40. At that point, again, Cody wins. He goes off, does his own thing. He has challenger after challenger after challenger. They line him up. He knocks him down until they do something else. But Rock and Roman, the whole bloodline thing. If you remember, what was it? I don't remember I was at last year's Mania. Paul Heyman said they're in the bottom of the third. Are we getting close to the seventh inning stretch here with The Rock coming in? I don't know where they are in this story, but they have so much more story they can tell. Rock and Roman doesn't need the belt involved. It never needed the belt involved. It is family. It is bloodline. It is a more personal story than just a title. And I think getting the belt off of Roman, getting it onto Cody, and letting Cody continue that story as the face of the WWE, as the leader going forward, the man, the top star in WWE going forward, does his own separate thing. And that leaves just the pure, clean, focused story of Rock, Roman, and maybe not a bloodline civil feud like we had last year with the Usos split and whatnot, but just building. And I think that would tell a great story. Then you have a whole year to build Rock versus Roman. I would love to know what you guys think. Sound off in the comments below. Or again, if you're listening on audio, thank you for listening on audio. Shoot me an email at wwfshow@gmail.com, or go to the link to the Facebook page. You can comment on the post when this show goes up on Monday, February 19th. And that's where I stand with that. That is where I stand with that. So what do you all think? Because I think there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this story. And I want to know what you guys think. Again, this is a fan podcast by fans for fans. I want to hear from you guys. So let me know. What are your fantasy bookings for WrestleMania? I've even seen people say where they almost want Cody to lose just so he can continue to chase for another year. Which, could be a cool thing. Could be, more of the same. But I think WWE has to strike when the iron is hot. They have been known in the past to not strike when the iron is hot. When a star is at their pinnacle, when they're just on the crest of getting to the top, they drag their feet, they lose the momentum, they lose the heat, and then things just kind of go awry from there. And transitioning, of course, you go back to WrestleMania 30, 10 years ago, Daniel Bryan. And part of me thinks that they are almost doing a more up-to-date version of the WrestleMania 30 story. But not really. It's kind of like a spiritual successor, if you would, to the whole WrestleMania 30 Daniel Bryan. They're not going to recreate it move for move because we've already seen it. We would all know. We'd call it out, be like, yeah, this is the same thing. But it's kind of similar where they kind of tease us where, Cody won the Rumble. He decided his story wasn't going to finish at WrestleMania. that he was going to step aside for The Rock, only to then say, nope, I'm in. And they tease it. I don't know if they they could have held out a little bit longer, but they don't want to go too long without, setting up the main event, because, they want to get people in and rocking with WrestleMania 4. This is going to be a fun WrestleMania card this year. And as we stand now for WrestleMania, speaking of that, we know of 4 matches are going to take place at WrestleMania 40. We got Roman and Cody. We got Io and Bayley. Rhea's going to defend the Women's World Championship against the Women's Elimination Chamber coming up next week at the Elimination Chamber, which we're going to dive into that here in a bit. And Seth freaking Rollins will defend the World Heavyweight title against the Men's Elimination Chamber winner. I want to break down those matches. Again, Perth is next Saturday. It's going to be an early show. I think it's a 5 a.m. here on the East Coast start time. 5 a.m. on the East Coast. So, I get up for 4 a.m. for work during the week. So getting up at 5 on a Saturday ain't going to be no thing. But because of that, SmackDown last week was taped ahead of time. They taped it last week this past Friday after SmackDown. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I'm going to put a time code here on the screen, or you can go down and click to the next chapter. Skip ahead if you don't want SmackDown spoilers. If you're in the audio, skip ahead about a minute. Skip ahead 1 minute from now. We'll say that for the audio listeners. But for you YouTube watchers, again, thank you for watching on YouTube. Make sure you click that subscribe button, because I would love to have you guys subscribed to the channel here. But spoilers in 3, 2, 1. CM Punk returns and defeats Roman Reigns. Okay, I'm just kidding. No, we got a couple matches here. Tiffany Stratton defeats Liv Morgan. A vignette aired for the newest tag team on SmackDown, Cedric Alexander and Ashanti the Adonis. So it looks like the remnants of Hit Row and Cedric are forming a new team. It'd be interesting to see what they decide to do with those two guys there. We get a backstage segment with the Bloodline. Braun Breaker in his SmackDown debut, so Braun's going to be over on the Blue Brand, defeats Dante Chen. And then we get the New Catch Republic, which is a name for Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, defeating Dominic Mysterio, easy for me to say, and JD McDonough. Quick note, since I didn't talk about it in the last show, I'm so glad Pete Dunne is back. I never liked the name Butch. That was such a Vince thing, but the fact that Triple H has given Pete Dunne his name back is so amazing. I love it. The fact that he's teaming with Tyler Bate is amazing. Love these guys. Awesome to see it. What's up, guys? Kyle here from Wrestling with Fans. And if you want to help support the show and the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button down below and comment below what your thoughts are on this week's podcast. I would love to hear from you. Do a listener, viewer, mailbag section where I can answer questions and read comments and everything on the next week's show. So do that as well. Of course, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Wrestling with Fans. Hulk smash the like button over there. That's where we post all of our stuff on social media. Follow on Instagram at Wrestling with Fans. Follow on TikTok at Wrestling with Fans. And if you have questions or anything just in the middle of the week, you can always shoot me an email, wwfshow@gmail.com. Again, that's wwfshow@gmail.com. All right, welcome back in, guys. Let's talk about the Elimination Chamber. It is coming to us next Saturday, February the 24th, from Optus Stadium in Burswood, Western Australia, from Perth, Western Australia. We only have 4 matches currently for Elimination Chamber now. I only had 4 matches at the Royal Rumble, and it still managed to be a 4-hour pay-per-view. So I'm expecting these chamber matches to be pretty significant and go a long time. Now, we may get another match or 2 added on Raw this week. If you skipped over the SmackDown spoilers from a few minutes ago, then, there's really nothing added as far as we know from just the match results from the live crowd of any new matches added to Elimination Chamber, but we'll see what happens on Raw this week. Right now we have Rhea Ripley defending the Women's World Championship against Nia Jax. Rhea in her hometown, her home country. Should be a mega reaction from Mommy, and I expect her to, of course, retain the title. Now, it wouldn't shock me. Crazier things have happened than Nia Jax winning and, making it a three-way with the Women's Elimination Chamber winner. But I fully expect Rhea to retain here in her home country. And do not be surprised if this is the main event of the show. I mean, Mommy is super over. Rhea's going to get probably the biggest reaction of the entire night. So I expect that match to main event. We're also getting the Judgment Day. Finn Balor, Damian Priest defending the Undisputed Tag Team titles against the New Catch Republic, which is the new name for Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. I don't know if they're going to do a title switch here at Perth, because I'm expecting, the way the story's kind of played out with Truth, for Finn and Priest to defend against Awesome Truth, Miz and Truth at WrestleMania. So I expect them to retain here. Should be a fun match. Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate are awesome wrestlers. If you've never watched their stuff in NXT or NXT UK, I highly recommend going over on the Peacock and checking out some of that stuff from 2018, 2019, 2017 range. Like the peak NXT when these guys were over there. Now we get to the two big ones. The Women's Elimination Chamber match, where the winner will go on to face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. We have Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Tiffany Stratton, and Naomi, who all won qualifying matches this past week, and the winner of the Last Chance Battle Royal, which I believe is going to take place on Monday. Now, if you want to believe the rumor and innuendo or those
dirty sheets, ooh,
dirty sheets, this was originally planned to be Jade Cargill, but apparently they have pulled her from this potential spot. Who is going to be the last one? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure who's in the Last Chance Battle Royal. Indy Hartwell is a native Australian as well. That would be a decent choice. Not really on the level of the other women in there. That's not a knock at Indy. Just her place on the card is not in that upper echelon currently. Jade would have been a good person to put in there. I don't know who they're going to do. I could see maybe Chelsea Green, even though she, again, isn't on that top level, but she's just so over and just so amazing at what she does. She would just add a whole cool dynamic to that Elimination Chamber match. But I don't really think it matters who the sixth person is. It's going to be Becky Lynch. We're going to get Becky and Rhea at WrestleMania. Now, depending on how things play out with the other matches, could it be a triple threat with Nia Jax involved? I don't know. I'd rather see one-on-one match. At WrestleMania, I want to see one-on-one matches, unless the story really calls for a three-way or a four-way match. I fully expect Becky Lynch to win here and go on to face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 40. And then the men's match. They announced all the qualifying matches. They have taken place. So if you have not seen everything currently up to date through this week's SmackDown, spoiler warning, it's going to be Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Bobby Lashley, LA Knight, Kevin Owens, and Logan Paul. The winner will go on to face Seth frickin' Rollins at WrestleMania. There's really it comes down to two for me in this match. It's Drew and Randy. Lashley is kind of involved with Karrion Kross and the AOP, so I fully expect him to not be involved in the outcome of this match. And we'll get that as a six-man tag in WrestleMania 40 this year. LA Knight and Logan Paul, that's been the big rumor and innuendo that's where that's going to head for WrestleMania, and I'm all here for it. Could Kevin Owens be involved in that in some way or shape or form? Maybe. Logan and KO have had a couple matches. But I'm a big fan of the one-on-one stuff for WrestleMania. So I take LA Knight and Logan Paul out of the mix here, which really comes down to Drew and Randy. Now, the only thing I'm positive WWE had to call an audible on is after the CM Punk injury in the Royal Rumble. Fully expected Punk to be in this match, win to go on to face Seth at WrestleMania. We're going to get Punk and Rollins at Mania. But with that now being out of the question due to Punk's torn tricep, the most logical person is Drew McIntyre, who's been in the mix with those two the entire time since Punk's return. And I know I wanted to talk about it on the last show, and I just kind of slipped my mind as time went on, but this version of Drew McIntyre is the best version of Drew McIntyre I have ever seen. He is just so spot on with a lot of his stuff. And I've always said this, wrestling movies, the best villains, the best heels are ones who believe in they believe what they are doing is right, and they believe they are doing it for the right reasons. And that is exactly how Drew McIntyre has been for the last 6-9 months, a year maybe, when he talked about all the stuff he went through during the COVID era, being the Thunderdome champion. You know, when the crowds came back, they didn't want him anymore. And they turned what happened in real life to an angle. I'm sure Drew probably felt that way. I have no doubt that he had to feel some type of frustration knowing that he finally reached the top of the mountain and there's nobody in the building to witness it. You know, we all watched at home. We had the Thunderdome. Yours truly did make an appearance on the Thunderdome. I've got that clip somewhere in the archives. But everything he said has been true, and he believes in what he is doing is right, and he's doing it for the right reasons. And to me, that makes a great heel. This has been the best Drew we've ever seen. Randy, of course, being on SmackDown would be like the sleeper. We already have seen Seth and Randy at WrestleMania in the past, and a great match. One of the best RKOs ever. When Seth went for the stomp, Randy launched him in the air, caught him with the RKO. One of the coolest RKOs ever in the history of the RKO. But I believe it's going to be Drew. We're going to get Drew and Seth. And I'm calling it now. I think this is where Damian Priest cashes in. Whether Seth beats Drew somehow, even with the knee injury, I think Damian Priest walks out of WrestleMania the World Heavyweight Champion. That's just my prediction. I'm calling it now because if he doesn't do it then, when is he going to do it? Because he's running out of time. He's only got a couple more months before the contract in the briefcase runs out. But that is Perth. That is Elimination Chamber. The only other thing announced for the Chamber is that Grayson Waller, will have a very special episode of the Grayson Waller Effect at the Elimination Chamber with the 2024 Royal Rumble winner, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, and World Heavyweight Champion Seth freaking Rollins. Now, this Grayson Waller Effect could have some major implications for WrestleMania. Again, a lot of the other
Dirty sheets. Ooh.
The dirty sheets talk is that we could see a tag match main event night 1 between Cody and Seth versus Rock and Roman, and then both title matches will take place on night 2. While I would like to see that, I don't know with Seth's knee injury how that's going to play out for him. Now, in the tag match, Cody could do the majority of the work. But then again, do you really beat your world champion the night before his title defense? Do you really beat the other world champion the night before a title defense? Do you beat The Rock returning in his first match back? Do you beat the man who we all think is going to walk out with the undisputed WWE Universal Championship the night before the big match? If we see that match on night 1, it will not be a clean finish. If it is, I would be shocked. Because I don't know who eats the pin in that match. And a lot of these matches, you can kind of predict who's going to eat the pinfall. Like at Rumble, I called it Roman pinned AJ. When we had a watch party, I said that as soon as the introduction started, nobody believed me. I'm like, Roman's going to pin AJ because they're not going to beat LA Knight. They're not going to beat Randy in his first match back. And Roman ain't losing here with WrestleMania right around the corner. AJ made the perfect sense to eat the pin in that match, and that's exactly what happened. In this match with those 4 participants, if that happens, again, it's a big if, who takes the pin? Who's going to eat the pin in that match. And I really don't know if there's a right answer. So we could see some kind of schmoz finish with Jimmy and Solo, potentially even Jay getting involved. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to take place. It's quite interesting to think about if we're going to get that tag match this year at Mania, or do they save that match for SummerSlam after Seth gets a chance to get his knee fixed, get healthy, and come back. But again, the story's there. They could do it. Whether or not they do, again, is a completely different story. But again, my plan currently is still to go live during the Elimination Chamber. That is the plan. So if you are want to join me, comment down below. Leave a thumbs up on this video if you haven't done so already. If you made it this far into the video, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's the main stuff I really wanted to talk about this week, was the whole, is this a change of plans or not? Because to be perfectly honest, I'm going to say it again, it doesn't matter. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. And that, I guess I'll do a little, I learned something today, my South Park moment here. I used to take wrestling so seriously. Even the early days of the show, I was, always reading the dirt sheets and watching YouTube videos and listening to podcasts and taking it very seriously and this, that, and the other. Well, I still take wrestling seriously. This is, one of my biggest passions in my life is professional wrestling, just being a fan of professional wrestling. It got to the point where it wasn't fun to watch. It really just wasn't fun to watch anymore. But now that I have allowed myself to step back and just enjoy being a fan, it's so much more fun. It is so much more fun just to suspend my disbelief and pretend that this is real, that it's not entertainment. These guys are really out there trying to kick each other's ass. And if you want to call me a mark, call me a mark. I don't fucking care what you think of me. I really don't. But just to be able to sit back and just get immersed in these stories, especially under the Triple H creative regime, he's done such a good job. And I think this is part of the reason why I loved his NXT before the rebranding, the 2.0. Just the stories they told with the wrestlers, the men and the women that they had, the matches they put on, just top tier, S tier professional wrestling, sports entertainment, wrestling, whatever you call it, whatever your cup of tea is. It was just S tier level stuff. But under Vince on the main roster, it got to the point where it was just not fun. The 3-week push, the name changes, the stupid gimmick changes. It just wasn't fun, but I trucked on, and it gave us stuff to talk about here on the show. But now, kind of as I've reset, took an extended break, and now that I'm coming back here, getting into doing this again full time, I feel like the only way I can really enjoy wrestling again is to take me back to when I was a kid and just got immersed in the storytelling, immersed in these characters, immersed in this show that they put on every week. And it has been so fun to watch. Even the wife, even Jen, is back into wrestling. We have our little baby. She'll sit and watch with us. And it's so fun just to sit back and enjoy it. And then, her and I will talk about it and how good stuff is, how dumb stuff is. It has been just amazing just to kind of let all that so serious, and I'm going to cram my keyboard and mean comments on Facebook groups and message boards. Like, man, The Rock said it best. Just sit back and enjoy the ride you're about to go on. And to me, at least this is me personally, I'm not saying how you should enjoy wrestling. Enjoy wrestling however you want to enjoy wrestling. But for me personally, when I stopped taking it so seriously, it became so much more fun to watch. And I think that's why I've wanted to get back into doing the show again, why I've gotten back into just thinking about wrestling all day long again. And it helps that this is all coming to a head right on the road to WrestleMania. That helps, obviously, because it's the best time of year to be a wrestling fan. So that's just my 2 cents. Sound off in the comments down below. Or again, if you're listening to the audio, thank you for downloading the podcast. Shoot me an email, wwfshow@gmail.com, or comment on the Facebook page. Links to everything are in the video description below and in the show notes below on your favorite podcasting app. And again, that is the best way to support the channel. Just follow us on social media. If you go on YouTube, just thumbs up the video, subscribe. It's free to do. It doesn't cost you anything, and you might enjoy yourself. Some of my takes on wrestling, but guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode. See you next week, where we will review Elimination Chamber. We'll have a couple more matches set in stone for WrestleMania, so we'll really be able to dive headfirst into that road to WrestleMania. Guys, WrestleMania is not that far away. We are only... Let me pull up the calendar here on the computer and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. 7 weeks from WrestleMania, guys. 7 weeks. That's not that long. But there's so much story to tell. There's so many big matches that we're going to get. I'm figuring we'll probably get anywhere from 14 to 18 matches between the 2 nights. I'm going to do a little tinfoil hat fantasy booking, some matches that we don't know or we don't think about. I'm going to kind of play around with some ideas, and we'll do a video on that here sometime soon on the channel. But yeah, thank you all so much for getting this far into the video. Again, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thumbs up the video if you would. It really helps us out. And again, comment below your thoughts on anything I've talked about here this week on the podcast. Matches you want to see at WrestleMania, predictions for Elimination Chamber. I would love to hear from you guys. That is the best way to support the channel. Just follow, comment, like, helps in the algorithm, helps get us seen by more people. And for that, I humbly thank you. But that's going to do it. Until next time, once again, my name is Kyle. We'll see you next time right here on Wrestling with Fans.